Hi guys, welcome to Science Moment, a place to ask the big questions, to seek the hidden truths, and to marvel at the sheer scale of the universe we call home. Life is so familiar that we rarely question it. Every day, plants photosynthesize, bacteria multiply, and humans think and act as if the existence of life is self-evident. But if we step back far enough and look at the history of the universe, we will realize that life is an incredibly strange phenomenon. The universe formed approximately 13.8 billion years ago. For most of that time, there was no life, only energy, fundamental particles, atoms, and mindless physical reactions. So what happened for life to emerge from those non-living elements? How do individual atoms organize into molecules, molecules into self-replicating systems, and ultimately into organisms capable of evolution? Why, among billions of planets in the universe, is Earth the first, or at least the only place where life arose and developed? The origin of life is not just a question of biology. It is an intersection of physics, chemistry, geology, and astronomy, and it also touches upon philosophy and humanity's place in the universe. In this article, we will trace the origins of life, from the harsh early Earth through prebiotic chemistry, scientific theories about RNA, protocells, and early life, to the major transformations that shaped the entire biosphere. This is not a story of miracles, but a story of process, where time and natural laws play a central role.
Chapter 1. Introduction. Humanity's greatest question. Since the dawn of human thought, one question has quietly loomed behind every religion, philosophy, and science. Where did life come from? Not just human life, but life in general, from the tiniest bacteria to the most complex organisms that have ever existed on Earth. At first glance, life seems so familiar that we forget how strange it truly is. A living cell can sustain itself, replicate itself, repair itself, and adapt to its environment. It not only survives, but also resists chaos, something that no other inanimate physical system can do for long. So what caused these lifeless atoms to come together and one day begin to live? What is life? This seemingly simple question is not easy to answer. To date, science still lacks a single universally accepted definition of life. However, most biologists agree that a living system must possess fundamental characteristics: the ability to metabolize, the ability to reproduce, the ability to evolve, and the ability to respond to the environment. It's noteworthy that none of these characteristics completely defy the laws of physics and chemistry. The molecules within a cell follow the same rules as rocks, water, or air. So where does the boundary between non-living and living lie, and how is that boundary crossed? From inanimate matter to living organisms. One of the greatest challenges of modern science is explaining how non-living matter, inorganic atoms and molecules, can gradually organize themselves into increasingly complex systems until they reach what is called life. There was no magical moment, no divine lightning bolt that transformed Earth from a dead planet into a living world overnight. Instead, scientific evidence suggests it was a process spanning hundreds of millions of years with countless intermediate steps, many of which are still debated. This leads to a crucial realization. The origin of life is not a single event, but a series of processes. And to understand that series, we need to go back to a very distant past when Earth was completely unfriendly to any form of life. Why did life appear on Earth? The universe contains hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, and orbiting many of those stars are planets. Statistically, Earth is nothing special. Yet to this day, it remains the only place where we are certain that life exists. The question is not, why does Earth have life, but rather, what conditions were necessary for life to emerge? Earth has stable liquid water for long periods. It lies within the habitable zone around the Sun. It possesses the necessary chemical elements, abundant energy sources, and a geological history long enough for complex chemical processes to occur. But is that enough? Or are there more subtle factors we haven't yet recognized? Scope of this scientific journey. In this article, we won't be looking for answers tinged with mythology or the supernatural. Instead, we'll follow the path that modern science is taking, based on chemistry, biology, geology, and astronomy. That journey began with early Earth, a hot, chaotic, and violent world. Next comes prebiotic chemistry, where the first organic molecules formed. Then came the key scientific theories that explained how those molecules organized themselves into self-sustaining systems. And finally, there was the appearance of the first organisms, the precursors of all life forms today. The origin of life remains an open question, but with each passing decade, science advances, narrowing the gap between inanimate matter and meaningful life. And to understand the first step of that journey, we must go back to a time when Earth was completely unlike the world we know today, the early Earth era.
Chapter 2: The Primitive Earth, an Unfriendly World. If you could turn back time more than 4 billion years and stand on the surface of Earth then, you wouldn't see blue oceans, clear skies, or any signs of life. Instead, you would find a violent, scorching planet constantly being ravaged. Early Earth was not a peaceful cradle of life, but an environment so harsh that it seemed nothing could survive for long. The formation of the Earth. Earth was formed approximately 4.6 billion years ago, at the same time as the rest of the solar system. It emerged from a giant cloud of dust and gas, where particles collided, bonded together, and grew larger over time. In its early stages, Earth was simply a molten sphere, constantly absorbing energy from meteorite impacts. The earliest period in this planet's history was called the Hadean Eon, a name derived from Hades, the underworld in Greek mythology. And that name is no exaggeration. Surface temperatures could be so high that rocks melted, volcanoes were rampant, and meteorite impacts occurred frequently, powerful enough to transform the entire planet's surface. In that context, any stable structure would struggle to survive, let alone complex systems like life. A planet always in a state of chaos. For the first hundreds of millions of years, Earth did not have a stable crust like it does today. The surface was constantly being broken up and rebuilt by magma flows. The early atmosphere, if it existed at all, was also very different from today's. It lacked free oxygen and consisted mainly of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water vapor, methane, and ammonia. In addition, Earth faced a period known as the Late Heavy Bombardment, a time when planets in the solar system were subjected to intense asteroid bombardment. Each major collision could boil young oceans or even completely evaporate surface water. Under these circumstances, the question is no longer why did life appear, but rather why life wasn't completely wiped out from the beginning. The emergence of liquid water, a crucial turning point. Despite its harsh conditions, early Earth possessed a crucial element that very few planets have: liquid water that existed stably for extended periods. Geological evidence suggests that liquid water has been present for at least 4.1 billion years, possibly even earlier. The origin of this water remains a subject of debate. One theory suggests that the water was released from within the Earth through the release of gases from the mantle as the planet cooled.
Another theory suggests that some of the water came from comets and ice-rich meteorites that collided with Earth. However, most scientists today agree that water doesn't come from a single source, but is the result of many combined processes. More important than where the water came from is that it has remained, not completely evaporated into space, and not permanently locked in ice. The special role of water in sustaining life. Water is more than just a solvent. It's the medium in which chemical reactions take place, a temperature stabilizer, and the element that allows molecules to come in contact, interact, and reorganize. Without water, life chemistry, even the simplest of it, is almost impossible. In the early oceans, water acted as a giant natural laboratory. Here, energy from lightning, solar radiation, and heat from the Earth's interior provided the conditions for complex chemical reactions to gradually form. A world that is not ready, but not hopeless. Although early Earth was violent and chaotic, it wasn't entirely hostile to any possibility of life formation. On the contrary, its geological dynamism, energy abundance, and persistent presence of water created rare windows of opportunity for prebiotic chemistry to flourish. Life didn't arise because the Earth was peaceful, but because it was stable enough in chaos, long enough for complex chemical processes to experiment, fail, and try again. And in those young oceans, amidst water, rock, and energy, the first building blocks of life began to take shape. These were organic molecules.
Chapter 3. The first bricks of life, organic molecules. As the Earth cooled, oceans formed, and the atmosphere stabilized, a crucial question arose. What was the first thing that led to life? Before cells, before organisms, even before the very concept of biology, the Earth had to go through an entirely different phase, the phase of pre-biological chemistry. This was a period when chemical reactions no longer occurred randomly and individually, but began to create more complex structures capable of interacting, accumulating, and transforming. These structures were organic molecules, the first building blocks of life. The fundamental elements of life chemistry. Life on Earth, however diverse it may be, is built from a relatively modest group of elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Of these, carbon plays a central role. Carbon's unique ability lies in its capacity to form strong bonds with itself and with many other elements, allowing for the formation of countless complex structures. Carbon is not a rare element in the universe. It is formed in the cores of stars and dispersed throughout space through supernova explosions. When Earth formed, carbon was already present in rocks, the atmosphere, and the oceans, creating ideal conditions for the development of organic chemistry. The formation of basic organic compounds. From these fundamental elements, important molecules gradually emerge. Among them, amino acids are the basic building blocks of proteins, molecules that perform most functions in living cells today. Sugars serve as the structural framework for genetic molecules, while nitrogenous bases are indispensable components of RNA and DNA. Remarkably, these molecules don't require life to be created. They can form through simple chemical reactions, provided there are enough materials and energy. This shows that the line between chemistry and biology isn't as blurred as we once thought. The Miller-Urey experiment, a historic turning point in understanding. In 1953, two scientists, Stanley Miller and Harold Urey, conducted a historic experiment. They simulated the early Earth's atmosphere in a closed system containing methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor, then powered it with electrical sparks representing lightning. The results astonished the entire scientific community. After only a few days, numerous amino acids and other organic compounds appeared in the system. This proved that under the right conditions, inorganic matter can naturally transform into organic matter.
The Miller-Urey experiment didn't confirm that life was created at a laboratory, but it did shatter a long-held assumption that the molecules of life could only appear when life already existed. Primordial soup pot and ocean chemistry. From the results of this experiment, scientists envisioned a primordial soup pot, a place where early oceans were filled with dissolved organic compounds. In this environment, molecules constantly collided, combined, separated, and reorganized. Not every reaction results in a useful structure. Most molecules will be destroyed or become unstable, but over time, the more stable molecules tend to accumulate, creating conditions for more complex reactions to occur. Evidence from outside Earth. Organic chemistry isn't unique to Earth. Scientists have discovered amino acids and nitrogenous bases in meteorites that have fallen to Earth, such as the Murchison meteorite. This suggests that organic molecules can form in space and be carried to young planets. However, this doesn't mean that life originated from the universe. Instead, it reinforces a more important idea. The building blocks of life are common throughout the universe. From molecules to systems. Despite the presence of amino acids, sugars, and nitrogenous bases, life had not yet emerged. Individual molecules could not replicate themselves, nor could they evolve. The next challenge was how to organize these building blocks into functional systems. And here, science encounters a core paradox. Which came first, DNA or protein? This question leads us to one of the most important hypotheses in the study of the origin of life, the RNA world hypothesis.
Chapter 4. The core paradox. Which came first, DNA or protein? When organic molecules became abundant in the early oceans, science faced a seemingly simple but incredibly difficult question: which molecule appeared first to initiate life? At the heart of this question are two key players of modern biology: DNA and proteins. Both play essential roles in life today, but it is their interdependence that creates a profound paradox, making it difficult to explain the origin of life. The role of DNA, a storehouse of information. DNA is the molecule that carries the genetic information of every living organism. It contains the necessary instructions to build and maintain a living body. The sequence of bases in DNA determines the structure of proteins, thereby governing all biological activities. However, DNA cannot function on its own. It needs enzymes, which are proteins, to copy, repair, and transcribe information. Without proteins, DNA would be just a passive molecule, incapable of maintenance or replication. The role of proteins, the execution machinery. Proteins are the workers of cells. They catalyze chemical reactions, build cell structures, transport substances, and regulate all metabolic processes. Without life, however simple, it cannot exist. But proteins don't carry the information to replicate themselves. They're synthesized based on instructions from DNA through a complex system of RNA, ribosomes, and enzymes. Without DNA, proteins cannot be consistently replicated over generations. The chicken and egg paradox. Here, we encounter a classic problem. DNA needs proteins to function, and proteins need DNA to be created. If both need each other, which comes first? A complete living system cannot exist without either. This paradox suggests that DNA and proteins as we know them today were perhaps not the starting point of life. Instead, there must have existed a simpler system capable of both storing information and performing chemical functions, a bridge between chemistry and biology. Limitations of old hypotheses.
For a long time, some scientists believed that proteins came first because they were capable of catalyzing chemical reactions. These primitive proteins, if they existed, may have spurred the reactions necessary for life. However, this hypothesis faces a major challenge. How can proteins be replicated accurately without a genetic system? If each generation of proteins were created randomly, then evolution, which is based on inheritance, would be impossible. Conversely, the hypothesis that DNA came first is also not feasible. DNA is too complex to form randomly, and more importantly, it lacks the ability to catalyze chemical reactions. A molecule that only stores information but cannot maintain itself would quickly degrade. The need for an intermediate solution. The DNA-protein paradox forces science to search for a simpler yet more versatile intermediate molecule. This molecule needs three basic conditions. It has the ability to store information, it has the ability to catalyze chemical reactions, it can form under prebiotic conditions. For decades, such molecules existed only in theory. But by the end of the 20th century, unexpected discoveries had completely changed science's view of the origin of life. Clues from the modern cell itself. Even in living cells today, traces of that intermediate solution still exist. RNA, a molecule often considered the messenger between DNA and proteins, turns out to have capabilities far beyond its auxiliary role. Some RNAs can catalyze chemical reactions, much like enzymes. These catalytic RNAs, called ribosomes, demonstrate that not all biological activity requires proteins. This discovery opens a completely new approach. It is possible that in the distant past, RNA served both roles, as a carrier of information and as a catalyst. A significant shift in scientific thinking. The paradox of DNA or protein coming first is no longer a dead end, but a springboard to a revolutionary hypothesis. Instead of asking which molecule came first, science is beginning to ask a different question. Did a world ever exist where RNA was the center of all chemical and genetic activity? This question leads us to one of the most important hypotheses about the origin of life, the RNA world hypothesis, where the line between information and function is first blurred.
Chapter 5: The Key Hypothesis, the RNA World. After facing the DNA-protein paradox, science needed an explanation that was not only logically sound, but also suitable for the conditions of early Earth. The RNA world hypothesis emerged in this context and quickly became one of the most important theoretical frameworks for understanding the origin of life. The core idea of this hypothesis is simple yet powerful. Before DNA and proteins, life, or its precursors, may have relied entirely on RNA. RNA, or ribonucleic acid, is commonly known as a messenger that transmits information from DNA to protein. However, structurally and functionally, RNA is more flexible than DNA and simpler than protein. It can fold into many different spatial shapes, allowing it to perform diverse chemical functions. Most importantly, RNA can both store information and catalyze chemical reactions. RNAs capable of catalyzing reactions are called ribozymes. The discovery of ribozymes in the late 20th century completely changed the scientific community's perspective because it demonstrated that proteins are not the only catalysts of life. A world without cells. According to the RNA world hypothesis, short RNA sequences appeared in the early oceans, formed randomly. Most of these sequences were unstable and quickly degraded. However, some sequences had more stable structures or were capable of self-catalyzing their own formation.
Over time, RNA sequences that have an advantage, being more durable, replicating faster, or more accurate, will survive longer. This is a form of natural selection at the molecular level, occurring even before the existence of life itself. Self-replication, a turning point in chemical evolution. The ability to self-replicate is a minimum condition for evolution to occur. In the RNA world, RNA sequences can serve as templates for the formation of new sequences. Although this process is initially very inaccurate, it is still sufficient to create variation, the raw material for natural selection. Each imperfect replication produces a slightly different version. Some variants perform better, some worse. Over millions of years, RNA systems have gradually become more complex, more efficient, and more stable. From RNA to DNA and proteins. If RNA was once central to early life, how did DNA and proteins emerge later? The answer lies in the advantages of specialization. DNA is more stable than RNA, making it suitable for long-term storage of information. Proteins, with their diverse structures, are more efficient catalysts than RNA. According to this theory, RNA initially performed all functions, but as systems became more complex, RNA handed over the task of storing information to DNA and the catalytic task to proteins, retaining its role as an intermediary. This is why RNA is still present in all living cells today. Evidence from modern biology. Traces of the RNA world are still evident in modern biology. Ribosomes, the protein synthesis factories in cells, are essentially giant ribozymes where RNA performs the primary catalytic function, while proteins play only a supporting role. Furthermore, many crucial biological responses, such as RNA processing or gene regulation, still rely on ribozymes. This suggests that RNA is not merely a relic, but a living remnant of an ancient era. Challenges to the RNA world hypothesis. Despite its appeal, the RNA world hypothesis still faces many unanswered questions. One of the biggest challenges is how RNA naturally formed under prebiotic conditions. RNA is relatively fragile and more difficult to synthesize than other organic molecules. Furthermore, the complete self-replication of RNA without the need for enzymes is an ongoing area of research. Some experiments have demonstrated this capability to a limited extent, but not enough to fully replicate the entire process. An important step forward, but not yet the destination. The RNA world hypothesis wasn't the final answer, but it resolved the DNA-protein paradox and provided a unified theoretical framework for understanding the transition from chemistry to biology. However, RNA still needs a stable environment to survive and evolve. And that leads to a new question. How are RNA systems protected, concentrated, and isolated from their chaotic surroundings? The answer lies in the emergence of the protocell, the next crucial step in the journey from chemistry to life.
Chapter 6: The Emergence of Protocells. While the RNA world hypothesis solves many core questions about the origin of life, it leaves one crucial question unanswered. Where did these fragile RNA systems exist and evolve? In the vast primordial ocean, molecules were easily dispersed, diluted, and destroyed. For life to truly begin, prebiotic chemistry needed a critical turning point, the formation of enclosed spaces. That transition was the emergence of the protocell, or primitive cell. The problem of open environments. In the primordial ocean, chemical reactions occurred in an extremely vast environment. When the concentration of molecules was low, the likelihood of them meeting and reacting effectively decreased significantly.
Even if a self-replicating RNA strand appeared, it was highly susceptible to breakage or drifting away before replication was complete. Furthermore, open environments do not allow for clear competition between different chemical systems. Without boundaries, without inside and outside, natural selection is unlikely to function effectively. The unexpected role of lipids. The solution to this problem comes from a seemingly simple type of molecule, lipids, especially fatty acids. In water, lipid molecules have a unique property. They self-assemble into membrane structures without any instructions. When the concentration of fatty acids is high enough, they automatically form small sacs surrounded by a membrane called vesicles. This membrane has two sides, a hydrophilic side facing outwards and a hydrophobic side facing inwards, creating a natural boundary between the inside and the outside. Importantly, these membrane-bound vesicles can form under prebiotic conditions, requiring no enzymes or complex biological systems. Protocell, the transition from chemistry to biology. When RNA molecules and catalysts are trapped inside lipid vesicles, something new happens. Chemical reactions no longer occur randomly in the ocean, but are concentrated in a small space. This increases reaction efficiency and allows RNA sequences to interact more frequently. Such systems are called protocells, primitive cells. They are not yet true life, but they already possess some important characteristics of living cells. They have boundaries, their own internal environment, and the ability to sustain specific chemical processes. Protocell growth and division. An interesting characteristic of protocells is their ability to grow and divide spontaneously. As fatty acids from the surrounding environment continue to attach to the membrane vesicles gradually enlarge. Once they reach a certain size, simple mechanical stimuli such as water flow or vibration can cause the membrane vesicles to split into two. If the protocell contains RNA, then when the membrane vesicle divides, its contents are also shared with new generations. This is a very rudimentary form of reproduction, but sufficient to allow natural selection to operate. Selection at the primary cell level. Not all protocells are the same. Some contain more efficient RNA sequences, which make the protocell more stable or grow faster. These protocells are likely to survive longer and divide more than less efficient protocells. For the first time, natural selection occurred not only at the molecular level, but also at the systemic level. Protocells became the competitive units, the precursors of modern living cells. Limitations of protocells. Despite being a major advancement, protocells remain very simple. They lack complex conditioning systems, precise replication mechanisms, and are highly dependent on the external environment. They are fragile and unlikely to survive long-term under fluctuating conditions. But this very simplicity is an advantage. Protocells don't need to be perfect. They just need to be slightly better than other systems to survive and thrive. The threshold of life. The emergence of protocells marked a blurry but crucial boundary, the boundary between chemistry and biology. When chemical reactions were organized within a closed, sustainable, and replicable space, life, in the scientific sense, began to emerge. From here, the path to the first organisms became clearer. The most successful protocells would continue to evolve, gradually forming more stable metabolic systems until the first single-celled organisms appeared. That is also when we encounter a special figure in the history of life, the last common ancestor of all living things, Luca.
Chapter 7. The First Life and Luca.
Once protocells had formed and begun participating in the process of natural selection, Earth entered a completely new phase. True life emerged. Although these first organisms were incredibly simple, they represented a major turning point in the planet's history. The first time non-living matter organized itself into systems capable of long-term self-sustainability and evolution. The first living organisms on Earth. The first life on Earth was very different from any organisms familiar today. They were single-celled microorganisms, lacking a nucleus and complex organelles. These organisms are classified as prokaryotes, the distant ancestors of modern bacteria and archaea. The environment in which they lived was also completely different from today. The Earth's atmosphere at that time lacked free oxygen. Oxygen, which is essential for the complex life forms we see today, was toxic to many early life forms. Therefore, the first organisms were anaerobic, developing without oxygen. Primitive metabolism. To survive, the first organisms had to extract energy from their surroundings. They didn't photosynthesize like modern plants, nor did they respire oxygen. Instead, they relied on simple chemical reactions, using inorganic compounds like hydrogen, sulfur, or iron as energy sources. These metabolic processes are rudimentary, inefficient, and highly dependent on environmental conditions. However, they are sufficient to sustain life at a minimal level and allow these organisms to replicate themselves and transmit genetic information. Our last common ancestor, LUCA. In modern biological research, scientists have discovered something astonishing. All living organisms on Earth share fundamental characteristics, from the nearly universal genetic code and ribosome structure to core metabolic pathways. All suggest a common origin. That origin is called LUCA, short for Last Universal Common Ancestor, or the last common ancestor of all life. It's important to emphasize that LUCA wasn't the first organism, but rather the organism from which all modern branches of life arose. What kind of environment did LUCA live in? Based on genetic and biochemical analyses, scientists speculate that LUCA lived in a hot, chemically energetic environment, completely devoid of oxygen. It may have existed near natural energy sources, such as hydrothermal vents, where chemical gradients provided a stable energy supply. LUCA was capable of using RNA and DNA, had ribosomes to synthesize proteins, and had a cell membrane to isolate itself from the external environment. However, LUCA was still very simple compared to any modern organism. Not an individual, but a population. One important point that is often misunderstood is that LUCA was not necessarily a single individual. Many scientists believe that LUCA may have represented a population of primitive organisms, sharing genes through primitive mechanisms of genetic exchange. In that early world, the boundaries between species were very blurred. Genes could be exchanged horizontally, not just passed from parents to offspring. This made early evolution more network-like than tree-like as we usually imagine. A turning point in biological evolution. The emergence of LUCA marked the point at which life had overcome its most fragile threshold. From this point on, biological evolution was no longer a series of random chemical experiments, but became a continuous cumulative process. Following LUCA, life rapidly diversified into many different branches, adapting to various environments on Earth. Some branches evolved into bacteria, others into archaea, and later, from one of these branches, new complex life forms emerged. The legacy remains to this day. Although LUCA disappeared billions of years ago, traces of it still exist in every single living cell today. Every time a cell replicates DNA, synthesizes proteins, or metabolizes, it is repeating the core mechanisms that originated in LUCA's time. This reveals a profound truth. All living things on Earth, however different they may be, are distantly related. Life is not a collection of separate stories, but a single story, beginning from a common origin. However, to better understand where life may have originated, we need to consider the specific environments on early Earth, where conditions converged to nurture nascent life.
Chapter 8. Where Life May Have Begun. One of the most important questions after understanding how life originated is, where did it begin? Early Earth was not a peaceful planet. High temperatures, constant volcanic eruptions, intense solar radiation, and meteorite impacts made the environment harsh. Yet it was in these seemingly impossible conditions that natural reactors may have laid the foundation for life. To date, science has no definitive answer, but two environments are considered leading candidates: shallow oceans near the shore and hydrothermal vents at the ocean floor. 1. Shallow oceans, the traditional cradle of life. For decades, the most popular hypothesis was that life began in shallow oceans or coastal pools. In early Earth, these areas had several distinct advantages. There is liquid water, an essential solvent for all biological reactions. Sunlight provides the energy for chemical reactions. Affected by natural energy sources such as lightning, UV rays, and volcanoes. In this environment, organic compounds can gradually accumulate in what is called a primitive soup. As water evaporates and then recondenses cyclically, the concentration of molecules increases, allowing them to bond together into more complex structures, such as short RNA chains. In addition, mineral surfaces along the coast, especially clay, can act as catalysts, helping organic molecules bond together more effectively. However, the shallow ocean hypothesis also faces serious problems. Ultraviolet radiation from the early sun was very strong due to the absence of the ozone layer, easily destroying fragile organic molecules. The open ocean is such a volatile environment that it is difficult to maintain long-term stability for primitive chemical systems. Waves, currents, and meteorite impacts can disrupt newly formed structures. These limitations have led many scientists to seek a more stable and well-shielded environment. 2. Underwater hydrothermal vents, an increasingly promising candidate. In recent decades, attention has increasingly shifted to underwater hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, especially alkaline hydrothermal vents. These areas lie deep beneath the Earth's crust, where seawater seeps into the Earth's crust, is heated and enriched with minerals before being ejected back into the ocean. What makes hydrothermal vents particularly attractive is that they possess many conditions similar to those of early life. The energy source is continuous, derived from chemical gradients rather than being dependent on sunlight. Temperatures remain stable for long periods, millions of years. Protected from UV radiation and meteorite impacts. Rich in essential elements such as iron, sulfur, and nickel, key components in modern enzymes. In particular, the naturally occurring porous structures within the nozzle wall can act as micro-reaction chambers, very similar to protocells. They help to concentrate organic molecules, maintain a chemical gradient between the inside and outside, facilitate the formation and replication of RNA strands. Many scientists believe that LUCA, the last common ancestor of all living organisms, possessed characteristics suited to this environment, living in hot conditions, rich in chemical energy, and not requiring oxygen. 3. Significance that transcends Earth. Determining where life began not only helps us understand Earth's past, but also guides the search for extraterrestrial life. If hydrothermal vents are the key, then worlds like Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, areas with subsurface oceans and geothermal activity, become prime targets.
Chapter 9. The Great Change, Atmospheric Oxidation. For the first billion years after life appeared, Earth was a world without free oxygen. The oceans and atmosphere were then dominated by gases such as methane, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and hydrogen sulfide. For modern life, this was a deadly environment, but for early life, it was ideal. However, all that changed when a tiny, almost invisible life form inadvertently altered the fate of the entire planet. 1. Cyanobacteria, architects of disaster and opportunity. Approximately 3 billion years ago, a group of ancient microorganisms emerged, cyanobacteria. Their breakthrough was their ability to perform oxygen photosynthesis, using sunlight to convert water and carbon dioxide into organic matter, while releasing oxygen, O2, as a byproduct. At first glance, oxygen seems harmless, even necessary, but for the world at that time, oxygen was an extremely potent poison. It reacted rapidly with organic molecules and metals, destroying the biological structure of anaerobic organisms that had evolved in anaerobic environments for billions of years. Initially, the oxygen produced did not accumulate in the atmosphere. It immediately reacted with dissolved iron in the ocean, forming banded iron formations, important geological evidence of the early appearance of oxygen. 2. The Great Oxidation Event, a turning point for the planet. Approximately 2.4 billion years ago, natural oxygen absorption basins gradually became saturated. Oxygen began to accumulate in the oceans, then escaped into the atmosphere. This period is known as the Great Oxidation Event, GOE. This is not just a chemical change, but the first global biological crisis. Most anaerobic organisms have become extinct or have been pushed into isolated environments, such as deep sediments and hot springs. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas, is oxidized, leading to global cooling, which can cause periods of snowball Earth. The ancient ecological structure collapsed, giving way to a new order. From the perspective of life at that time, this was an extinction event, but from a long-term evolutionary perspective, it was a golden opportunity. 3. Oxygen, a toxic substance transformed into a source of energy. Some organisms were not wiped out, but adapted. They developed biological mechanisms to neutralize the harmful effects of oxygen. Use oxygen as the final electron acceptor in respiration. The result is aerobic respiration, a method of energy production that is many times more efficient than anaerobic fermentation. Thanks to this, organisms can maintain a larger genome, develop complex cellular structures. It supports energy-intensive biological processes. Without oxygen, large and complex multicellular organisms cannot survive. 4. The formation of the ozone layer, a biological shield. Another important consequence of atmospheric oxygen is the formation of the ozone layer, O3, in the stratosphere. Ozone absorbs most of the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun, creating a natural shield for the Earth's surface. Therefore, life may leave the ocean and move on to land. DNA and other biological molecules are less susceptible to damage. New ecosystems are beginning to form. It could be said that the ozone layer has unlocked entirely new living spaces for life. 5. From microorganisms to the complex world. The Great Oxidation Event didn't immediately create complex life. It took nearly 2 more billion years for oxygen levels to reach a sufficient height to support large multicellular organisms. However, the GOE laid an indispensable foundation for all subsequent advancements. Without cyanobacteria and oxygen, there will be no eukaryotic cells. There will be no animals, plants, or humans. The Earth may still be just a simple world of microorganisms. 6. A lesson from the planet's history. The paradox is, the organisms that produced oxygen had no intention of changing the world. They were simply optimizing their own survival. But that very act led to one of the most profound transformations in Earth's history. The Great Oxidation Event reminds us that evolution has no goal, but its consequences can be planetary in scope.
Chapter 10. Is life exclusive to Earth? Looking up at the night sky, humanity has long posed a question that is both simple and haunting. Are we alone in the universe? Earth is the only place where life has been confirmed, but were the conditions that once gave rise to life here truly so rare, or just one of countless possibilities that have occurred throughout the vast expanse of space? 1. The building blocks of life. They are not rare. For decades, science has consistently discovered that the chemical components of life are not exclusive to Earth. Elements such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus, the foundations of biology, are ubiquitous throughout the universe. In particular, many complex organic compounds have been found in meteorites and interstellar gas clouds. Some meteorites contain amino acids and even nitrogenous bases, the building blocks of RNA and DNA. This suggests that prebiotic chemistry may have occurred naturally in space, even before planets formed. 2. Liquid water, the gold standard in the search for life. Although organic molecules are common, life as we know it still requires liquid water. Therefore, water has become a top priority in the search for extraterrestrial life. In the solar system, many celestial bodies once considered barren have now shown signs of water. Mars has evidence of ancient rivers, lakes, and oceans. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, have oceans of liquid water beneath their thick ice layers. Comets and asteroids contain significant amounts of water. Outside of our solar system, thousands of exoplanets have been discovered, many of which are located in the habitable zone, where liquid water could exist on their surface. 3. The panspermia hypothesis, life traveling between worlds. A bold hypothesis has been put forward, panspermia, suggesting that life or pre-life may have spread between planets via meteorites, comets, or cosmic dust. According to this hypothesis, Earth may not have been the first place where life formed, but rather a convenient destination. Microorganisms or organic molecules could survive the harsh conditions of space and be seeded upon colliding with a suitable planet. However, panspermia does not explain the ultimate origin of life, but only expands the range of where it could have appeared. 4. Life may be very different from ours. A major limitation in the search for extraterrestrial life is biological bias. We search for life similar to our own, but extraterrestrial life could not be carbon-based, no liquid water is needed, operates at extreme temperatures and pressures. However, currently, carbon-based life in aquatic environments remains the only model that science can study and verify. 5. Why haven't we seen anyone yet? If the universe is teeming with life, why is there no clear evidence? This question leads to the Fermi paradox. If they exist, where are they? Several explanations have been proposed. Intelligent life forms are extremely rare. Civilizations self-destructed before interstellar communication occurred. Space distances are too vast for effective communication. We don't know how to listen to the signals correctly. 6. An open question of modern science. To date, science has been unable to definitively answer whether life is common or rare in the universe. But each new discovery, from meteorites containing amino acids to subsurface oceans on icy satellites, narrows the gap between theory and reality. 7. Looking out at the universe from Earth. Understanding the origins of life on Earth gives us a scientific compass to search for life elsewhere. If life can arise from chemistry under the right conditions, then Earth may not be an exception, but rather a first discovered example. And as humanity continues to gaze out at the sky, that question remains, quiet, profound, and without a definitive answer.
Chapter 11. Conclusion. The Journey from Chemistry to Life. Looking back at the entire journey of understanding the origins of life, one thing becomes clear. Life did not appear as an instantaneous miracle, nor was it the result of a single moment. It is the culmination of billions of years of slow transformation, where inanimate matter gradually approached a state of self-organization, self-sustaining, and ultimately self-evolution. 1. There is no birth moment of life. Unlike many myths, science does not point to a single clear moment when life began. Instead, it points to a continuous series of transitional steps, from inorganic matter to organic chemistry, from simple molecules to self-replicating systems, from random reactions to natural selection at the molecular level. The boundary between non-living and living thus becomes blurred. Life is not an on-off switch, but a gradual process of emergence. 2. The decisive role of planetary conditions. Earth wasn't a special planet from the start. In its early stages, it was a hot, violent, and chaotic world. However, a rare series of conditions came together. The distance from the sun is appropriate, the stable presence of liquid water, geological activity sustain the chemical cycle, the magnetic field and atmosphere protect the surface. It is this relative stability over long periods that has allowed prebiotic chemical processes not only to occur, but also to be sustained and accumulated. 3. Natural selection predates life. One of the most profound discoveries of modern science is that natural selection doesn't wait for organisms to exist. Even at the molecular level, systems that are more stable, replicate better, and consume energy more efficiently already have an advantage. RNA, protocells, and primitive chemical reaction networks are all subject to this law. This shows that evolution is not the exclusive domain of biology, but a universal principle of complex systems. 4. Life, an inevitability or a cosmic accident? One question remains unanswered. Is life inevitable when the right conditions arise, or is it merely an extremely rare accident? If life is inevitable, then the universe could be teeming with diverse life forms. If it is accidental, then Earth could be a fragile exception. Currently, science does not have enough data to make a definitive choice between these two possibilities. However, each new discovery, from prebiotic chemistry in the lab to extraterrestrial worlds, is tipping the scales toward the possibility of widespread availability. 5. Humans, the late product of a long chain. Humans appeared very late in the history of life. If the history of Earth were compressed into a single day, humankind would only have appeared in the final seconds before midnight. This reminds us that we are not at the center of this process, but we are the only species that knows how to question it. The ability to contemplate the origins of life is one of life's greatest achievements. 6. The origin of life, an unanswered question. Despite significant progress, the origin of life remains one of science's biggest questions. These remaining gaps are not failures, but rather drivers for interdisciplinary research between biology, chemistry, geology, and astronomy. Each new answer opens up deeper questions, forcing us to adjust our perspective on life, the universe, and ourselves. 7. From chemistry to consciousness. Ultimately, the journey from simple molecules to conscious life prompts profound reflection. Consciousness,
culture, and science all originated from ancient chemical reactions taking place on a young planet. Life is not just a biological phenomenon, but a long story of matter learning to understand itself. And as humanity continues its search for extraterrestrial life, we are not just searching for someone else, but also exploring our deepest origins.
The journey to understand the origins of life reveals a profound truth. Life is not opposed to matter, but rather its most subtle consequence. From simple atoms born in stars to organic molecules formed on young Earth and then gradually evolving into self-organizing, self-sustaining, and ultimately self-aware systems. There is no single moment that marks the birth of life. Instead, there is a long series of transitions where the boundaries between chemistry and biology are blurred. It is this ambiguity that makes the origin of life one of the most challenging questions of modern science. What we know today shows that life needs the right conditions, but not perfect ones. Natural selection began even before organisms existed. Events that seem catastrophic, like the Great Oxidation Event, actually paved the way for more complex life forms. Humans, with their intelligence and consciousness, are not the ultimate goal of evolution, but rather a temporary result of a process spanning billions of years. The fact that we can question our own origins is testament to the level of complexity life has attained. Nevertheless, the origin of life remains a mystery, but it is precisely these gaps that drive science forward. Each experiment, each astronomical discovery, each new theoretical model brings us closer to the answer. Ultimately, in our exploration of life, we are not only tracing Earth's past, but also asking ourselves, is it possible for consciousness to have originated elsewhere in this universe? And if so, then humanity is just one of countless ways the universe has learned to look back at itself.